Okay, how's it going? I hope everybody's doing okay. So what we're going to go over here, this is going to be about car hauling. Car hauling is not what we teach at Truck Driver Nation, but it says I do teach people in addition to this because if they come to our freight dispatch course, then obviously I go through them because it's not a big add-on. But people don't know what car hauling is as freight dispatchers and it never really hit me. But I had enough questions from truck drivers that have seen car haulers out there on the interstates and they've been asking me, it's not every day, but maybe once, twice a week or something like that. And I tell them, I mainly teach dry van, reefer, flatbed, and step deck. But what I want to do is talk to you about car hauling. Obviously, it is very lucrative, but it's challenging for independent freight dispatchers because when you're looking at cars, let's say, for example, let's use the picture of this in the background. The one that's over the actual cab of the truck, that's over the actual hood, right? On the nose. This is a 379 Pete. It's an older one, and if you looked at enough car haulers, you can tell what condition that car hauler is in. This is definitely a used truck, okay? But position one, that I don't know if that's a Mitsubishi or one of those damn whatever. It's not. I don't think it's a Toyota, even though there's a Toyota pointing the direction. Um, I think this may be a straight load, as we call it. It may have came from a dealer. It could have came from a rail yard. But rail yards are usually covered with like a plastic wrap to protect the paint job. And but the things about this is like you got to know what position one, two, three, four, and five. That's usually on the top rack. And then you got six, start behind the sleeper. It goes six, seven, eight, nine. So that's how the sequence of the cars are in. And when you're actually dispatching for these vehicles, now obviously it's going to come down to the owner operators doing it, but you got to know how much weight and how high these cars are and overall length because you got to know if you can fit them on the rack. If you got too many cars, you've got cars that you can't use, and then you've spent time dispatching it, picking the thing up off of central dispatch, for example, getting it lined up, doing the approval just like you would do anything else when it comes to getting the rate confirmation or negotiating the freight. Depends on how that lead came in for that particular vehicle, because a lot of people need cars moved, right? But when you're doing it, you got to make sure that it can fit on there. Otherwise, if it can't fit on there, you went all the way to go get that car, and now you can't even get it. So now you wasted time. So and that puts you back on the low board as a dispatcher looking for another car, and you've got somebody that's pissed off because they're like, "Dude, you sent me to get the damn car, now it's not available, and I'm wasting my time." Okay, and what if he took off? Let's say it's the black one. See that Toyota on top? What if it was that one right there? He took off everything else. He'll take off because I mean you have to drop them down because remember, even in position six, that's behind the sleeper, it has to be removed sometimes just so you can tilt position two down to be able to get that car off. Because you can't just drop off if it's too much of an angle. That'll bottom the car out on your rack. Not saying that it'll rip the exhaust out from under it, but if somebody's real particular and there's a brand new car, they're gonna get under there. It may not be while you're there dropping the car off, but it could be after the fact, and then they see damages and whether they're gonna call back and discuss a claim with you or not. Because once anybody touches that car to move it, even when you parked it in that lot, then they could have did it, So you do have grounds to dispute this on, and you do a lot more disputing with cars than anything because people say, "Well, I know my car." Sure as shit, they don't know their car. There's scratches on that car that were there way before you got it. And when you take your sets of pictures, it'll reveal it. And so make sure you always document these. But the point behind it is I'm going to discuss, car hauling and how it's lucrative in the certain sense based on the overall market because car hauling drops off just as well as any other freight. Freight's freight, right? And point A to point B. But as a car hauler, that's where I made a really, really, really good money. And I'm gonna tell you, it was really good money, straight from me. Okay, but car hauling takes a lot out of you because when I'm delivering, it's no telling when I'm going to have to deliver it. So that being said, let me go over my script here, and I'm going to fill in the gaps with the information. This is not an all-inclusive presentation because there are so many different factors when it comes to car hauling, from like you charge for the contents of the car. How much fuel is allowed in the tank? Do you have to deflate the tires to get it on the rack? Because you got to keep the rack below 14.2. The GPS and the settings you have to have in your GPS to make sure you're not wiping out bridges, which sure the hell wouldn't wipe out cars. And even when you're doing it, did you pin out your cars on your trailer? And there's just a lot of stuff. I'm gonna leave it at that because there's straps and there's cleats and chains and all this different stuff. Even the pinholes where you do a T hook or a J hook under there where you're going to pull it down. Do you pull down suspension? Do you make sure it's on the chassis? So there's a lot to this that I'm not going to get off into because I did car hauling for just over 7 years and I learned so much about car hauling. And I love it actually, but it's just too hard. You got to be a young man to do this, or you got to have you an assistant that rides around with you. But is it worth what you're going to pay him unless he's driving too to kind of do this? But there's all kinds of different factors. Okay, but we're going to concentrate on the dispatch side. But car hauling is one of the most rewarding sectors of freight dispatching, offering consistent loads, high paying freight, and specialized logistics work. However, it also presents unique challenges that make it different from standard semi trailer dispatching. Understanding the complexities involved can help independent freight dispatchers master this niche and thrive in the industry. That being said, I hope you absorb exactly what it says. So when you get into, oh, I want to be a car hauler dispatcher, okay? Remember, every time you drop a car, you got to get another one in that slot to keep the maximize the given freight. Because it's not always going to be just one pickup, one drop like you would with a trailer. When we're talking about drive-in reefer flatbed or step day. Now, why car hauling is such a great niche as far as dispatching? Car hauling has a is a high demand, specialized freight sector that requires skilled dispatching. Here's why it's such a great choice. High pay per load. Car haulers off you gotta excuse me. I ain't been up that long, but my throat apparently still trying to get with it. Car haulers often earn more per mile than standard freight because of the specialized nature of the job. So they actually increase the gross revenue on the truck because of what we're doing. And remember, ain't nobody loading these trucks. The trucker is loading these trucks. Nobody puts nothing on your trailer. And you don't want them to because if there's any damage, you want to be the one know that shit, I must have did it because I don't let nobody else touch my equipment. But also, in addition, with those higher freight prices, that you're obviously benefiting based on the percentage that you're charging as that freight dispatcher. Now, consistent work, there's always a demand for vehicle transportation from dealerships, auctions, private sellers, and rental companies, as well as what we call, POV, which is privately owned vehicles. That's snowbirds, for example. That's the terminology we use. Variety of load sources. Now, dispatchers can source loads from various locations, including POV, privately owned vehicles, dealerships, Copart, IAA, Manheim, and rental car companies. So that being said, you want to understand that you're not just coming from load boards and like Central Dispatch. You actually build relationships with some of these places. But even Manheim, Copart, and IAA all put their cards on Central Dispatch where they're available for anybody to pick. So you have to stay there and watch because if you're in a given region, and let's say that it's Dallas, Texas, you did a one drop and there's not nothing there, you got to balance it out because you know where he's dropping. You got it on your board. You know where he's dropping, and you know where you need to start having your next pickup. So you need to stack these loads. You need to pre-plan these loads as they go along, whether you got nothing there or not. That means, okay, I got one dropping in Dallas, let's say, for example, and I know that it's this car, and I got to find something to replace it. So immediately you're on it even before he leaves. This is totally different than doing drive-in reefer flatbed a step deck. I can say, dude, I can be there next week at whatever time and get that car. You got to get a commitment from them because you need to know that it's being picked up. Will the customer cancel? Absolutely, like anything else. But the point is, you want to try to have it planned out. Make sure the money per mile is correct for that given car and all that good stuff because most of the places that they can go on and post their car or whatever, ask companies that they want to have it transported are going to be pretty expensive. Now, also remember some of this stuff is done through the military because I think it's called, is it PCI, whatever. It's like when troops, usually in certain times of the year, they actually start moving them around from base to base, changing their commands and stuff like that. So whether they're going to send them overseas, you might be taking the car to a port or to another base or whatever it is. Depends on what the military is going to compensate that given um, veteran or that given soldier or sailor or airman or whatever it is that they're going to pay for that transportation for that given car so they can have their vehicle for whatever command they're going to. But But when you're doing this, you've got to pre-plan them so you know that you're not liking. And if you don't have nothing there, you got to keep looping until you get something, because once they get there and they drop that car, now you have to make a decision. Keep moving toward your next drop, and you hopefully you can find something ahead of him, like say maybe in the next city or whatever, or you're just going to end up start taking losses. Now that's bringing down the gross revenue, and the truck driver's not going to feel that. Okay, so you need to keep that in mind. Now, obviously, opportunities for growth. Now, remember, this is not all inclusive. I promise you, I'm trying to give you as much, and whether you can wrap your head around this or not, because car hauling is more equipment based, logistics, but it's a lot more moving parts, as you can see. Now, opportunities for growth. Now, as a dispatcher, you can expand your network and work with multiple carriers, increasing your income potential. Obviously, as an independent freight dispatcher, that's what you're doing anyways. Um, so definitely, if you're loading one car hauler right, when he goes to Mannheim or he goes to Copart, especially let's use Mannheim. Okay, Mannheim, because I know the way their parking lots are set up. It literally goes truck, 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 and it's all car haulers. Now, whether they're pulling three cars like a simple wedge, or maybe five cars like Miller makes those, or going up to the Cottrell 5307s, which is a seven car. Usually you want those to be self-contained on the PTO. So all you're doing is supplying the power line to the trailer to operate that PTO, or is a full let's say a Cottrell Easy Loader for a nine car, whether it's using a chop top type of 379, whatever it's going to be, those people are all there. And one thing they may or may not need. Now, some of the ones that you do three cars, they'll actually go on their phones. Doesn't mean they're getting the best freight, but some of those guys will sit there and play around and get their own cars because the cars are there. But you can easily talk to your owner operator or whoever it's going to be that's there. Say, would you mind going down there and just passing that card? Send him some cards through the mail. There's all kinds of ways that you can succeed in this. I get excited about it because I know this. Okay. I know where the money's at. I know how much money I made. Sometimes I'd have $10,000 cash on me because you want to get as many people to pay for cash as possible. Um, but anyways, it depends on who you're working for, how they want to view it. If they got employees, okay, you ain't sure the hell don't want to trust nobody with no 10 grand because they have shown back up to the carrier and the money wouldn't be there. And so, yeah, you got their settlement. You can offset it with that, but you're talking about 10 grand. And if you're only making anywhere between $3,000 and $4,000 as a car hauler for that week, and that's really what they make, by the way, then where are you going to get that other 6,000 if you didn't get it? Okay. That's the reason some only want certified money orders, cashiers, checks. If they take a credit card over the phone, there's like a 5 or 10% increase in it because it is a credit card because they have up to 90 days to dispute that charge, or they want cash. And a lot of people won't let them take cash. And when the dispatcher is actually doing it, they'll tell that customer, we only accept these forms of payment. Do not give that driver cash. And they'll emphasize that. And most people are going to understand why. It's not that it's trying to throw a bad light on the driver, but the company just doesn't want to risk losing cash money, whether they say they lose it. And I'm going to give you a testimony real quick. I had a damn check. This one stands out in my mind. It was $800. I swear to you, in my mind, even to this day, I did not lose that damn check. It was in my bills and everything. So when I got back to the office, I turned everything in. So make sure you snapshot all your documents before you turn them in to your office, because whether that check was lost inside the office or even I lost it, which I didn't have a record of it. I don't remember the bill that gave it to me because on your bills, you keep your bills, snapshot all that. So in case that happens, you can backtrack that check and find out where it came from and recover that money because that trucking company kept that damn money out of my paycheck and they never picked up a finger one to try to assist me in that or even fix it so I could actually go back through my cars and get that. Now, whether I was done right or wrong, I can't say beyond a shadow of a doubt. So beyond reasonable doubt, they're not guilty. And basically, I'm the one guilty because he was able to prove, I mean, not prove it, but bring back the overall expense loss to me. So I had to incur that and obviously pissed me off. So, because I worked for that money, that was a hell of a lot more money than with just one car. So I suffered on that given event, but keep that in mind. Now, what makes car hauling more challenging than standard semi-truck dispatching? Car hauling requires more attention to detail and logistic planning than standard freight dispatching. I told you, you got to pre-plan ahead of time on this because this is car hauling. This ain't pulling no standard trailer, one drop, one pick, or three picks and everything, all that. The load's in there, it's strapped down. All of this is out here exposed. You know, I mean, in attention to detail, I'm gonna give you another tip. I'm gonna give you this stuff as we go through because car hauling has a lot to it. When you got your keys, what if your driver actually leaves the keys in the car, whether it's a key fob or whatever it is, and the damn door locks. You know, you have to ensure, which they should know, but I'm telling you as a dispatcher, so you'll know that they leave the key fobs in the cars, the damn doors will lock. Not saying they all will. I don't know if you go by maybe a business and it's sending out there was a RFI, radio frequency, whatever the hell it's called, where it's sending the signal, it locks the doors. I have no idea, but I've sure as shit locked my doors on my cars before, and I actually needed a break-in kit, which I always kept one in my truck, so in case I had to break into my cars. So I'm a pretty damn good car thief. I can get a car opened up. Obviously, you can't turn the ignition over because it's computer generated, right? But I've definitely locked myself outside my cars, and I've been pissed off sometimes before I originally got everything together. I remember when I originally started, I was about a half-ass inch from wanting to break windows out. So I was like, well, hell, just tell them somebody broke into it. It's a claim. But the thing is, paint jobs and windshields and all that, you end up paying for it as the actual owner operator, or if you're working for a company. So don't think you're getting off scot-free, including if you let air out of tires. If it comes down and it actually ruptures the tire, then you got a problem. And make sure you lose your actual air valve stems, or you're screwed in either as well. So make sure you keep an air valve stem remover and extra valve stems. They all go to the same thing. There's all the standard size across the nation. Keep those in your driver door, your box on the side or whatever. So you got that in your hands. You're gonna need a lot of extra tools. You need a measuring stick for height and stuff. But anyways, let's keep moving along. So multiple stops and load sequencing. So unlike standard freight loads with a single pickup or a drop off, car haulers have between 3 and 9 vehicles per trailer. And these cars often have different pickup and delivery locations requiring careful route planning. And that's the truth. If you just let's say you get a load of cars and it was all POV. POV pays good because that's each individual thing. And let me tell you, a company will let me put it this way. You call me, you want a car taken from Denver, Colorado, let's say down to Houston, right? And you tell them, have you had any previous bids? And they say, yeah, I had one for $1,500. Or I estimate it's going to cost me $1,500. So look, don't worry about it. We'll do it for 1,200. Okay. We'll get there, we'll get it picked up, everything's insured, etc. We'll get it directly. It's door to door pickup and delivery. And as soon as we get there, our driver will give a call ahead of time, let you know that he's on his way. And that's the thing about that, by the way, since I'm crossing it, you've got to call ahead of time because these are not appointments. I could give a shit. I'd knock you out of bed at 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm here with your car. You need to come get it. Because if I'm awake, you need to be awake. I know that's harsh, but that was me. Okay. I'm a truck driver. Okay. That's the reason people, oh, you're so harsh. Man, I don't have time to be the subtleties. I got to get stuff done. So when you're doing this, you've got to call ahead of time. Make sure there's going to be somebody there. What if they're at work? You know, what if they live in a gated community? So now how you going to get the car in the gated community? Because the security guard may or may not let you in, and you sure can't pull your truck up in there. So if they live in a gated community and the car is all the way in the back, shit, we're talking about blocks, because in Texas, those are big ass gated communities. So you got to go all the way back there. Back there, is there anybody to bring you back out? To drive me back up to my truck, because I sure the hell ain't trying to play backpacker because I'm dealing with work and then I have to hike my ass out in the middle of a summer Texas day and try to get back to the truck. Okay. So you have to look ahead of all these given factors. So as a driver, so when you're a dispatcher, keep that in mind of the problems, because he's going to call you and say, hey, I'm having a hard time getting a hold of them while he's busy unloading the truck. Then you need to call them and say, hey, yeah, I got a hold of him. They said there's a maid or whatever that they got house service, that when you get back there, they'll bring you back up to the front. Let the security guard know this is the phone number to call him. They're there. They'll let you through the gate and you can go back there and get it knocked out and get on the way. But keep that in mind. But remember, you get 3 to 9 trucks, and if there are 9 cars on there and they're all independently privately owned vehicles, or even if they had bought something from Manheim Copart, because people buy vehicles off of eBay and all kinds of stuff, and they will ask you, hey, well, like I had a guy that had a Corvette. Okay, just another example. I forgot what year it was. And I'm not into Corvettes. I'm a damn redneck. I'm into pickup trucks and winches and four by four, I mean, four wheelers and all that stuff, right? So he says, well, what do you think of the Corvette? And, I put, obviously, when you put a car on the rack, you get to see the top and the bottom, right? And I put it on there and everything was old school. I mean, it had the button where you could let the antenna up and down, the electric locks, they didn't automatically lock, not like the locks that they got in cars now. You can go click, 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 you know what I mean? Because there's only two doors on a Corvette. I should have went click, click, right? But it was old school, tight steering wheel, no adjustable steering wheel, by the way, and old school radio. I don't know if you could have got a station on it, but I could give a shit less. But I needed the car only to run. But all I need out of a car is for it to run, be able to get it on the trailer, that it has enough ass in it to be able to get up the ramps to get onto the trailer, and that the brakes work. Okay. Um, but anyways, when I give a scenario, I was like, I say, look, dude, as far as I can tell, because those things are fiberglass. Because people redo stuff, they patch the holes and everything. I've had them where even the chassis was welded. I was like, oh, this guy's gonna be pissed off when he gets his truck. That whole damn chassis has been welded up. So, anyways, I said, look, it looks good, and I forgot what scenario I gave him, but that's the point behind it. They'll ask you about cars because people buy cars and they've not even seen them physically. They just like, oh, that's a pretty penny, and I want it. But anyways, so you got to know where you're going to put your cars, make sure they get on there and everything. So when you're dealing with these 3 to 9 stops, cars are going to be coming on and off. So you got to pre-plan, help them get it where they get it in the gate. Now, are you starting to see how that much more this is definitely a special niche, but why it pays, what it pays? Now, these cars often have different pickup and delivery locations, requiring careful route planning. You cannot take a car hauler into Miami. You will be buying paint jobs. And there's a lot of Maseratis and stuff down there because there's a lot of money down there. In addition, if you take it down to downtown Houston, when you turn down a road, okay, it won't say nothing. It won't give you no warning, okay? And you'll be accessible to trucks. It won't be a truck restricted road, but it'll let you in there. When you get fully turned in there in a busy Houston traffic, whether you're on the loop or wherever you're at, once you get down the road and all you can look down the whole damn distance of the road, you see low-lying trees. The cities are responsible for cutting those trees back, but that does you not a damn bit of good at that given moment when you're like, I cannot go down this road. Okay. You've literally got to back your truck out into the main highway to get down there, and you don't have a police officer to stop nothing. Me, I could give a shit. If you want to hit that trailer with your brand new Porsche or whatever you want to do, you hit it. Help yourself to it. I've got insurance, but I have no choice. I'm going to back this car hauler back out into that road because I have nobody there to assist me. And I just ease and I ease. I turn on my hazards and I ease and I ease and I ease till I finally get out there. Okay. And you just sometimes all the traffic will stop because they see what's going on. But you got ding dongs. There's always somebody not paying attention. So you got to be aware that you're dealing with this. So as a car hauler, in that instance, you don't want to be the one going down that road. But as a dispatcher, if you can help them book, if you know something about this load, always ask the people. Now, the driver's going to ask too. But if you've got sense enough as a dispatcher, do your driver a favor. Ask him where we're going. And you understand they may or may not know. What road can we access your house or your residence or wherever the location this is going to that is actually accessible? No low lying power lines, no low lying trees. That means tell them it comes down below. They're not going to know what 13.6 or 14.2 is. But any information that you can get to push it over to your owner operator will definitely assist him. And you can go by Google Maps or Google Earth, but that doesn't, it's not always an updated view of what the city has been doing to keep the trees cut back. And one day I was in Los Angeles and I hit a limb and it broke the limb out, come off onto a brand new car below me. And the police were just happened to be right there. So we did everything, and I wasn't responsible because it was the city's responsibility. Obviously, the guy in the car didn't feel that way. He was pissed off as ever living hell, but I can't do nothing for you. This is not my responsibility, dude. I'm looking at low lying limbs, but if I could actually use 2 or 3 lanes, because you know how wide our cities are now, then I could easily do it. But when people are not wanting to let you over, I'm there. I'm committed. Okay. I have no choice. And you're not going to always know to stop. Now, obviously, I don't do that in a car hauler. Car hauler, I give a rat's ass. If I have any judgment, whether it's going under a bridge or anything, I will stop traffic. You can get out and cuss. Well, I'm glad you know how to cuss. Can you spell that type of deal? Because deal is, I need to get out and look at that bridge closer. I take my stick and I run it up to make sure the height is good. And the reason I'm telling you as a dispatcher, you need to know these factors when you know what you're dealing when you're dispatching for the car hauler. If you don't know why he's saying this or why he's doing this or whatever, you need to ask. Unless he's got a lot of claims, he's tearing up paint jobs, then you got an idiot car hauler on your hand. He ain't got no experience, or because you're not gonna have no money because he's gonna end up tearing up so many cars, he's gonna be out of business. You might as well go and say this guy ain't good as a car hauler and get rid of him because it took me a while to quit damaging cars, and I still crap happens even after you think you perfected your skill set. It still happens. Just all I tell people, it ain't nature, it ain't God, act of God, it is just car hauling. So, but anyways, okay, flexible delivery times. Most car haulers don't have strict appointment times, and that's good and bad. Instead, deliveries are often based on a call ahead estimated times or night drops at dealerships. Night dealerships, when you go to dealerships, they usually can have the gate open. They'll let you drop in the back, and they'll have a box where you drop your. You don't have to get it signed. You just put dropped at night or whatever it is. Put that and your keys. Drop them in that box, and then take a picture of everything. Inspect the car when you dropped it off. Pictures, pictures, pictures. The box that you dropped it into, and a picture of the building that you dropped it at. So, well, we didn't get it here at this address because some asshole could have came through and stole the car. Okay, welcome to the real world. Stole cars happen. That's the reason when I have cars that are older, they're easy to. They ain't got low jack systems on them. They don't have GPS systems in them, like On Guard or whatever it might be. They can steal that car, and you'll probably never see it again. So make sure pictures, documentation when it comes to these cars. And I'm telling you as a dispatcher, so you can sure you're getting the right information on your side in whatever given event and say, hey, dude, where's the pictures to this? I've got to bill them for it. And, I need, whatever it might be, you'll get the rhythm of it. But if you have questions, always make sure you get a hold of me and we'll go over it. Give me a second. Okay. So night drops. Okay, went over that. Meaning dispatchers must stay in consistent communication with the drivers and the customers. You've got to stay in constant communication because you're not dealing with a broker. A majority of times when you're car hauling, brokers are kind of not in this. Okay, unless it happens to be a company trying to third party you out to actually pick up a car and drop it. Make sure you know the paper trail. Okay, it don't matter. Double broken or double whatever dispatching a car can happen even in this. Everybody's supposed to have MCs. This is still FMCSA and DOT required, right? So loading and unloading and unloading complexity. Now, some cars are what we call are inoperable. That means they don't run. It's a car, it's got wheels, it's got brakes. Sometimes had an old van, a Volkswagen van. I literally rolled it off into a football field at a local school, and I had no choice, just let it roll until it stops. If it didn't stop, that bitch is going to go straight off the side of it wasn't a cliff, but it was a major incline and end off down to the woods, but I had no choice. So I angled my truck so I didn't have a heavy grade when I dropped it off to not generate momentum. And so as soon as it hit, I was just hoping the kinetic energy would burn off, just the drag of the vehicle and stop it. It didn't even have an engine in it. So that's the reason I was willing to do that one for that given situation because I knew not having that engine in it would lighten up the vehicle. And I let it roll. Once I cleared it, I literally got out of it and I let it roll. I wasn't going to be in that damn thing and it go off the side of that end ravine or whatever. So make sure you understand what you're dealing with, including the emergency brakes. You people need to check those emergency brakes because if the emergency brake don't work, that means they're gone. Because if you don't know what emergency brake system even is and how it operates, you might want to watch and see how that operates when you're actually dealing with this. Even as a dispatcher, you need to know because anything that he needs to know, you should know too. Car hauling ain't the same thing as drive-in, reefer, flatbed, and step deck. I emphasize that again. So for inoperable cars, there's a couple of things you're looking at. Is it going to require a forklift for loading and unloading? And when it does require a forklift for loading and unloading, you have to make sure that it's both ends. Now, like if I go to Manheim or Copart, we're not using Manheim, but like Copart and IAA, since those are insurance claims, whether the car's totaled or whatever it is, then they might have restrictions on how high they're willing to lift on that car to put it on your trailer. In addition, if you disconnect, if you're pulling a bunch of scrap cars, that's going to be a factor too. So make sure that all these details are covered. You don't want to get your truck there and he doesn't have a winch on it, because some car haulers put winches on their trailers so they can literally just drag it in there. And then they got a reverse, it's like a snatch block where they'll put it in the other end and they'll reverse it and drag it back out. So make sure you keep that in mind. Now, dispatchers must be aware of which locations like Copart, IAA have forklifts available and plan accordingly. Now, vehicle weight and positioning. Vehicle weight, you're going to have to know this. Unlike regular freight, where weight distribution is straightforward, car haulers must carefully plan vehicles on the trailer to ensure proper weight distribution, height clearance, and ease of unloading at the multiple stops. So you try to put them in sequence. You try to make sure the weight's going to be distributed right based on each vehicle. So put your weights in there. It usually runs from around 3,500 pounds. If you got a smaller car, it could run just short of 3,000, but 3,500 pounds to almost about 8,000 pounds. It could even be more if you're pulling stuff out of the oil fields, because they put steel bumpers and steel on the front and the back of those trucks because they're doing a lot of all kinds of stuff. I mean, those trucks take an ass kicking. But knowing your equipment, know where you're going to put your weight, because most of the time on a car hauler, the ass end, the actual back of the trailer, actually those tandems back there end up bearing a lot of weight. And that's usually where the overweight issue comes in. No matter what, cannot overgrow your trucks. You can't go over 80,000 pounds. But because they're cars, you can actually overlink them more than most people, depending on the state. Florida, actually, you have to make sure you got a special permit for Florida. You usually can come 3 foot off the front. That means the wheels roll all the way to the edge, and you come 3 foot off the front, or you can go 6 foot off the back. That was the last time that when I was car hauling, that's what it was. So make sure you understand every state that your owner operator should know, but you need to know too, because you don't want to overlink them by a damn pickup truck, which might have an extended bed sticking off position 5, for example, and sticking way, way out there. And make sure you red flag them. They got to have red flags on them. They stick past the clearance of the actual truck itself. They need to have flags on it. Flag them anyways. Just put the damn flags on everything that moves around, right? So anyways, moving along. So special skills a car hauler dispatcher needs. Now, being a successful car hauler, dispatching requires additional skills beyond the standard freight dispatching skills. So load planning and sequencing, we went over that. So the dispatchers must understand how to load the cars in the right sequence to minimize repositioning during deliveries and eating up time. Now, if the owner operator does something different, that's on him. But when you're scheduling, I literally send out a chart. This is position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that way they know how I sequence them. In addition, based on weight and where they're dropping. Okay, it don't matter. I might have to be out of sequence some, but I still got to get the cars on there, and I might have to resequence them based on that. But I try to do them like one off, one off, one off. But remember, you're picking it up, a new one. So that's probably going to throw it out of sequence anyways. But you want to just try to get a win on one end or another, so you're not working your owner operator nearly as bad. But keep that weight in mind at all times, and height clearance and length clearance. I'm sorry, that's a lot, but that's the whole thing behind being a car hauler dispatcher. So strong communication skills. Since many deliveries require calling ahead to drop off times, dispatchers must ensure drivers stay on schedule and coordinate with customers. That's you and them. Route optimization. Some roads have clearance restrictions due to the height of stacked vehicles, making route planning more complex. Now, look, if I know I'm running through an area and I have no height problems and I'm going to be dropping something off, I'll let it go. I know where the scale houses are at. I always try to do a triangle. That way I knew my route. Knowing your route and doing car hauling is going to save you so much agony. So you just want to run all over the place like you're an OTR driver. I don't particularly suggest that when it comes to car hauling. Understanding of auction and dealership logistics. Vehicles from Copart, IA, Manheim may have different pickup procedures because they do have office hours, requiring dispatchers to be familiar with their operations. So every one of these businesses is going to be set up differently, but you'll get familiar with them because you're in car hauling. Now, car hauling is a lucrative and challenging niche for independent freight dispatchers. While it requires more attention to detail and coordination than standard semi-trailer dispatching, it offers higher paid loads, consistent work, and rewarding career path. It is rewarding. I really like it. Dispatchers who master load sequencing, vehicle position, and flexible delivery schedules can establish themselves as a top tier professional in the specialized field. And I, with that being said, I'm gonna tell you straight, I was good. I really enjoyed it. I got really good. It makes you, it challenges you. You know, you're not a steering wheel holder and you're getting around, you're moving around, you're making that blood pump, even on hot days. Keep lots of water and keep extra t-shirts in your truck as a driver because you're going to sweat through them some bitches and literally put you a fan over your driver's seat that's pointing directly on you, hooked to an inverter you got on your dash. So as soon as you get in there, just sit, put a cold rag around your neck if you got a refrigerator in your truck, and just let your body cool back down. Okay. It really gets hot out there some days. But anyways, I'm going to kind of leave it at that. You know, this is definitely a good niche to be in if you're willing to go this far with your skill set. So if you're interested in actually learning this, I'll be more than happy to teach you, get you some connections and all that good stuff. Um, but obviously, even for you to do this, you have to go through our dispatch program. I give all this for free when you actually complete our program. So you learn to dispatch, and then we add this onto it. If you don't know how to do the basic dispatching, how you think I'm going to be able to teach you this? But anyways, go to truckdrivernation.com. That's our website. Look over the content. Also go to, you can get a hold of us at support@truckdrivernation.com. Give us a phone call, 210-343-1118, 210-343-1118. In addition, all that contact information right there is also inside the website, whether it's contact us now, which is on one of the drop down choices, or go straight to the bottom of the homepage and it's down there as well. Um, Also, we got TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of it's Truck Driver Nation. You can go in there. There's lots of content videos. This may even be where you see this. I give you the basics. I don't teach you everything. I'm just, this is what I do with these videos is I engage people because the biggest thing is I'm trying to get the people that want to actually get out of the truck to become freight dispatchers to come to Truck Driver Nation and become a freight dispatcher. If you need a job, go to the back of our website at truckdriver.nation. All of our jobs are listed back there that we have available. So if you want to continue driving, let us know so I can get you lined up, get your driver's license, your metal card, 10th Street. Based on that profile, I'll tell you everything about the trucking company that particular ad has to do with. So make sure you get the job ID number, but get a hold of us and we can help you out. But anyways, I hope this helped you and I hope you learned something. I know this is very skittish, like skimpish, but it gives you some content to wrap your head around. But I appreciate your time. Everybody have a great day. And drivers, please be safe out on the road. And since we're doing car haulers, guys, please be careful on those car haulers. I can only tell you the accidents that have happened that I'm aware of. So you car hauling is, you know, if you're a fat boy and you haven't stretched, I would highly suggest you maybe not do this one. You've got to be limber, suck that gut up, not, you know, because you got to squeeze in those doors down there on the bottom and stuff. So really consider what you're getting into. But be careful in those car haulers. But anyways, I thank you so much for your time. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for visiting Truck Driver Nation, and everybody have a blessed day.